So can't introduce in some authentic kind of musical disc that I would play. Musical disc called the Coxsone Fever, I would say. Well, I keep it to you if you can, from east, west, north to south London town. Now if you're black or white, you really gotta stick around and be no clown. You the brother Coxsone gotta put down, you know. Sound called Coxsone, it sounds first, and I will tell it to you. Sounds that control the universe, designed to quench your musical thirst. Some kind of cloudburst, you know.
My name is Solomon Malcolm. I'm here to talk a little bit about reggae sound systems. There was a video interviewed with Lloyd Coxsone talking about David Rodigan. I was going to comment a bit about that. Now, people don't realise, Mikey Dread said many times when he was being interviewed that David Rodigan was a fan of his. And he gave David Rodigan a demo tape of his show. I think it was called Dread at the Controls. And his show was made in Jamaica in the 70s, because you could only play reggae music after midnight, and you couldn't have any talking because of the political violence at the time. They did not want Rasta starting any revolutions. So what Mikey Dread did on his show to get around that, he just played the tunes, and he had jingles and sound effects between the records, you know. And then he done a demo tape. He gave it to David Rodigan, who was a fan. And then David Rodigan took the tape to the BBC. And because the tape didn't have any talking on it, they thought that Rodigan had made the show himself. And they gave him a job on the BBC hosting a reggae show. That is how it all started, you know, because his show was basically a copy of Mikey Dread's show, with all the samples and sound effects, Dread at the Controls, Wake Up Jamaica, and all that stuff. All of those samples and gimmicks were just copied off Mikey Dread. And that is how he got his start in the reggae industry. It wasn't, he didn't do anything directly himself.
My name is Sharon Parks. I used to work at Greensleeves Records. I just want to say, from my point of view, that this is so totally wrong, and David Rodigan needs to show some humbleness. You cannot say that you are the godfather of reggae and take that accolade when there have been so many before you who still to this day remain voiceless and faceless, but have propelled you to where you are today. You say that, you say in your response to Lloyd Coxsone that you have never said that you were the godfather, yet when you were interviewed by a particular journalist who said, here we have the godfather of reggae, you didn't refute it. You happily took on that mantle that you are. In your response to Coxsone, you didn't actually respond. So you're guilty as charged, and everything Lloyd Coxsone said is 100% true. My only thing is, I wish he'd said it about 40 years ago, but unfortunately we didn't have social media 40 years ago. But now it's gone viral, and everybody knows that, and sees you for what you really are. All I have to say is, you need to show some humbleness. You are one of many. Reggae didn't start with you. It sure as hell won't end with you, because reggae is bigger than you, but you seem to think that you're bigger than reggae.
When it is in their best interest and it is in the interest of truth. Lloyd Coxsone spoke many truths, and David Rodigan did not reply to these many truths, because he could not reply to these many truths that Lloyd Coxsone uttered. People, look at what Lloyd Coxsone said and judge for yourselves.
David Rodigan, he was not a sound system man, because he mentioned in his book himself that when he first played out, he didn't play he didn't play live before he had a radio show. When he played his first time live on a dance, right, after he was on the radio, the audience looked shocked because they didn't know he was a white man. They had to close their eyes, hear his voice, and realize that he was the man who was doing it. Now, the reason why David Rodigan and Tim Westwood got where they were in reggae and hip-hop was because the radio stations at the time, BBC or Capital, they wanted like a Charlie Gillett to host a specialist black music show, because Charlie Gillett played African music mainly on his show, but it was termed world music. And that was why his show was such a groundbreaker and important show in the BBC, because if you had an African man playing African music, people would just think it's just for black people and they wouldn't listen to it. So the same thing happened with David Rodigan. If you had a white man playing rap music or reggae, more people would listen to it. If it was a black guy doing it, they'd think it's just for black people. And that was how Rodigan got there, because you got to realize black people were making reggae music, recording it, and playing it in sound systems up and down the country. So are you going to tell me that they could not find one black person good enough to host a radio show apart from David Rodigan and Tim Westwood, who was doing rap music? You know, that is ridiculous. That is how they got where they were.
So can't introduce some authentic kind of musical disc that I would play. Musical disc called the Coxsone Fears, I would say. But I keep it to you, you can't. East, west, north, to south, London town.